Good afternoon, everyone. I am Leah Simpson. I'm the Director of Online Learning, and I am happy at this moment to bring you this faculty panel from 3 faculty who are joining us from Big Sandy Community and Technical College. So today we have Hope Bennon, who is a professor of communication. Hope is having some difficulty with her camera today, but she does have microphone, so she will be able to speak with us. We have Dr. Gloria Pimenta, who is the Assistant Professor of Math and Sciences Department, and Sandra Saad, Professor of Communication. So welcome, everyone. It's great to see you. I'm just going to start with you, Hope. If you'll come off mute and tell me, how long have you been teaching in Ultra?
This is my first semester using Ultra.
Okay, and how long have you been teaching total at Big Sandy?
35 years.
35 years. Okay, thank you. What about you, Sandra? How long have you been teaching with Ultra, and how long have you been teaching total at Big Sandy?
I've been teaching in Ultra this is my 3rd semester, and I've been at Big Sandy for 18 years.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And what about you, Gloria? How long have you been teaching in Ultra, and how long have you been at Big Sandy?
I've been teaching in Ultra since fall 2020. I've been teaching in Big Sandy since fall 2019. So I was just 1 year in when I started with Ultra.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go back to you, Gloria, and I'm going to ask, do you think there are any advantages in the move to Ultra, and if so, what are they?
I feel like the look is more clean and modern, which students might like better. And also, I like how, in Learn, I was used to navigating the website on the left side where there are small folders. So this time, our navigation is more on the right side, and it's the main window. So I think it's better as far as looks is concerned. As far as using it, I think it's just a matter of us getting used to it.
Awesome. What about you, Hope? What do you think is the advantage of moving to Ultra? Hope, do you have audio? You had audio earlier because your mic was open and I could hear it.
I'm sorry, I had my mic off. Like I said, I'm still struggling with it, and I'm still working with it. And I think the advantage is, I think our students are going to like it a whole lot better. And I do like the cleaner look and the consistency of all of the assignments and the modules. And I think that's really the advantage.
Thank you. And what about you, Sandra? What do you think is an advantage of moving to Ultra? What have you experienced?
The layout and operation are far more intuitive and user-friendly for both faculty and students. Once you get used to it, I found that I really, really love the layout, and I find it easy to maneuver and set up assignments and things like that. It's just getting over that learning curve.
So I'm going to follow up with you, Sandra, since you're on my screen. What's one thing you know now about the move to Ultra that you wish you had known before switching? What's one thing you wish you had known first?
The one thing I wish that I had known, these are technical little things. When you set up assignments and you have to set up the date and time, set up the time first. Because I found when you're setting up assignments, if you put in the date and then the time, oftentimes it will switch the date, which can be really frustrating. I mean, because you don't notice it because you just put in the correct date. But then when you go over and set up the time, it switches. So that was something to adjust to. And then another thing I wish I had known, and these are just, technical things as you're working through it, is that if you set up a column in Gradebook for manual entry, I think you need to, because you put a deadline with it, if you course copy, you have to go into Gradebook and change that deadline. Very important, because the students in the next semester will be seeing that old deadline if you don't. So there's just like, those were two things as far as setup and running a course that I've run into that I had to learn to adjust to.
Those are good tips and tricks. The switching the date, I've had that happen to me as well. And it's if you start at like in the afternoon, say you're fixing your assignment at 3 p.m., that's where it starts. And so if you roll it over, it suddenly thinks that you've rolled over on your date. So it's that one you do have to pay attention to. I agree. Gloria, I'm going to ask you the same question. What would you what do you wish that you knew then before you started that you know now?
Okay, so I think this is a good tip for everyone. And it probably applies whether it's Ultra or Learn or whatever LMS is that you should like you should focus just on one class at first. Just focus and put all your effort in it. Make it as perfect as you think you can do it before you course copy. Because then that way, if you course copy first, then you remember something that you want to change or you want to add, then you have to add it in each of, say, 4 sections that you've already done. So I think it will save time if you just focus all of your energy onto one class first and then course copy it, and then you're going to have a very good layout for all of the other classes and not much modification that you have to do how many times there is that you have classes that you are going that semester.
Gloria, that was wonderful advice. I didn't do that, and I've struggled with that, so that's much appreciated.
What about you, Hope? What advice would you give? What do you wish you knew now? I'm sorry, that you wish you knew then that you know now.
I wish I would have used, I went through an Ultra boot camp twice, and then I didn't use it for about 3 months, and I might just as well have not been in the boot camp, because once you get all that knowledge about how to navigate around Ultra, you've got to use it and use it and use it to get used to it. And I didn't do that, and I think that's probably part of the reason why I'm still struggling with it. So that's just jump in and get at it. When you learn something in it, try it and use it until you are comfortable with it. And I'm getting there, but it's been a trip.
I think that's good advice, Hope. I think that probably rings true for almost any technology. When you're just learning procedural kind of stuff for technology, it's not going to stick with you if you don't actually apply it. So I think that's good advice for this. But you mentioned in your answer, you mentioned the boot camp. Could you speak on what you're referring to from the boot camp related, how that worked for Big Sandy and what that was?
Well, our resident guru on all things Blackboard, Judy Howell, set up a 4-day boot camp, and it was intense. We learned, she went through everything from looking at the grade book to setting up modules, to chunking information into those modules, to she went through everything, how to create a video, how to just everything. It was 4 full days of just really, from 9 to noon in the morning we got the information, and then from whenever we got from there we worked on whatever it was she talked about. And it was intense, but it was so good. And now that I'm using Ultra, all of that is coming back to me, or all of it has come back to me. But like I said, after I didn't use it for so long, it was just in the back of my head somewhere, and I couldn't bring it up. So anyway, it was amazing. I don't know how she did it, and I'm not sure. I don't know if she could keep doing it, but anyway, it was difficult and intense. Like I said, it was 4 days of just solid working on stuff. So anyway, that's what we did.
Thank you. So Sandra, did you attend one of those boot camps and did you find it useful? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about it?
So I did attend a boot camp. For me, it was a nice introduction to the concept, but it was so much material that, if I'm not, I have to do something to learn it. And so I like to do bit by bit. So it was a nice introduction overall, but I didn't do any hands-on during it. I found that, as Hope mentioned, Judy has been our resource. As I mentioned to you the other day, if we give credit to anyone on our campus for single-handedly moving us to Blackboard Ultra, it would be our librarian, Judy Howell, who is in charge of distance learning, because she has been in the trenches since the beginning, not only offering boot camps, but we're able to touch base with her, and she sets up Microsoft Team meetings where when you have a specific question, she shows you, demonstrates, or lets you, attempt to do it during that session. So she's probably done hundreds upon hundreds of Microsoft Teams sessions with individual faculty members as you learn the process. And that's been invaluable, I think, having that touchstone person who knows everything. And if she ran into a question that she didn't, she would reach out to someone at Kctcs, get the answer, and come back. So she's just a tremendous asset.
In my office, we have the utmost respect for Judy Howell. There's nothing that I cannot say enough about how much we love her. So I agree with much
I didn't know if I should bring her name up or not, but she has been an absolute miracle worker for me. And Sandra just said she spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in Teams meetings, and I mean, she's probably had 20 meetings with me in person. So she's just amazing. I can't say enough good things about her.
So that is one piece of advice it sounds like the other colleges should take, is to see if you can still Judy Howell as you transition to Ultra. Big Sandy won't be happy, but it sounds like Judy's amazing. Gloria, do you
change my advice? Find your own Judy Howell and leave ours alone.
Exactly. We don't want to lose ours.
Gloria, do you have anything to add? Did you attend any of the boot camps?
Yes, I did. And I agree with Sandra when she said that you really don't know until you are on there and starting to do it. But again, I would like to thank Judy Howell as well. And it's not just during boot camp, during the rest of the time, during the rest of the semester, I'm looking for how I can do things. She will have an answer, or if she doesn't have an answer, she will ask somebody else, and you will really get your answer as soon as possible. And so the other one time I had a problem with, but I already saw it flashing on your screen earlier, Leah, where we can now set up where the students cannot submit late. I didn't know that before, and when I realized that students were submitting late and not even getting penalized for it, I asked Judy if there was a workaround, and she did ask somebody, and they said no. But I'm glad to know that they have added that function on at this point. So I feel like you guys are doing a good job, really telling Blackboard what we need and what we want.
Thank you. That particular one, I will give James Gibson a lot of the credit. He is the Kctcs Blackboard Administrator, and he and I meet regularly with Blackboard, and we do tend to take the responses that we get from our peer team members, and Judy is one of our online learning peer team members, and every school has a peer team member. They gather that information for us, and then we try to advocate to Blackboard for the stuff that is the most important, and that late submission piece was a nightmare. So we're super excited that Blackboard was able to finally get that fixed. So I'm going to ask you, Gloria, since you are on my screen at the moment, how have students responded to the switch to Ultra? Have they mentioned anything to you? And if so, what is it?
No, they don't mention anything to me, but I can imagine it being better for them because it's more mobile friendly. I feel like, but I don't think they would say that they prefer one thing over the other because I think they are good with technology in general. But I also didn't ask, so I'm not sure. But I feel like they are okay with whatever their teachers are using anyway because they don't have a choice anyway.
And Sandra, I'm not going to ask you this because I know we talked about this the other day and you said you hadn't really asked your students about it, but Hope, have you had any conversations with students or have any students voluntarily given you some information or feedback that makes you think Ultra is thumbs up or thumbs down for them?
Thus far, I don't get, I can't tell you that they're, of course, they're not screaming up and down and saying, yay, we finally did this, but I think they're going to like it better because, like I said, the appearance and the consistency and I think and they seem to be maneuvering in it just fine. So I think it's a good move.
So Hope, you're the newest of the three panelists to use Ultra. How long did it take you to get a course where you felt like it was ready for showtime? How long did it take you to design a course? And also, before you answer that, did you start from scratch or did you convert from an old Learn Original course into Ultra?
I converted from Learn to Ultra, and I'd say probably 4 weeks, honestly. And
For a single course?
I'm talking about full-time days. I
Okay.
spent my Christmas break getting it ready. November and December, I was on family medical leave. I had some back surgery, and when I came back, I started and just kept every day, because I knew it had to be done. And I can tell you that I still have 2 modules in each of the courses I'm teaching in Ultra that they're not done yet. So they're not complete, but they're sure closer than they were. So I'm pleased, but I'm going to be more pleased when everything is done.
Okay, thank you. What about you, Gloria? Did you convert from original to Ultra, or did you start from scratch? And how long did it take you to get it where you wanted it to be seen by students?
I started from scratch, and I feel like it's a good choice for me because I just started in Big Sandy anyway. So I'm not deep into I'm not emotionally attached yet to all of the content. So I started from scratch, and I saw it as an opportunity to just start with to just start fresh. So it didn't take long for me. So I would say maybe 2 weeks with 1 hour a day, but only for one class. As I said, I wanted to just do one class first. And yeah, so I think it was okay with me. I guess for me it's faster just because I don't have a lot of content at that point. Like I don't have a lot of previous courses to work with. So
Thank you. And so, Sandra, what about you? Did you transfer directly? Did you just convert from original to Ultra, or did you start from scratch? And how long did it take you to get it ready?
I did copy over from Learn, but before that even, Judy had encouraged us to start thinking of our courses and content as far as chunking them in the order that we thought we would want the material to flow. So that was kind of pre-stuff done in Learn. And then when I copied over from Learn, like Hope, I started working, you have your getting started activities and you have your course introduction module, and then mine's separated into modules. I didn't set the goal to have it planned out from start to finish, but I did a little bit at a time. So while students were working in module 1, I was designing module 2 and the setup and then tweaking, as I went. So it was kind of a work in progress through the first semester of usage. And then after that, it was, much easier just to course copy each time. But even now, I think all professors do this. As students provide feedback and you see how they're interacting with the material, you're constantly tweaking and changing things a little bit. Maybe it's just a matter of providing additional written directions, or even now, for example, in a test I'm now, after the test, doing a video where I'm talking about the problem questions that the bulk of students encountered. So I'm providing some review after the test, just to cover material that students found difficult. So I'm still finding things I want to do and add that I think would be helpful to the students. So I think but for all of us, I think that's true. It's always an ongoing process of what you provide to your students to make it, accessible and helpful.
I think you've hit, that's what exactly, you're right. The course is never perfect, right? It's always just, it's ready, but it's never perfect. It's never hopefully it's never stagnant. Hopefully you are finding those things. We've got a couple of questions in the chat that I'm going to ask. So Sandra, you just mentioned tweaking. Did the process influence you to make any major revisions?
Yes, I think so, because we were really encouraged too by Judy Howell as we did this to make sure that we thought of student-to-student interaction activities. So I really started using voice threads heavily in my courses, and voice threads are where students can put up a video. They answer a prompt and they put up a video. And then I divide my students into groups that are in the same groups throughout the semester. So they not only have to put up a video about the prompt, but then the second part of that is they have to watch their classmates' videos and provide a second video in which they provide feedback to their classmates. So it's a way of getting conversations going. And then I have group activities where they work within groups they have a prompt and they have to have an online discussion. Just do it in the discussion format. They have to create like a top 5 list that the group agrees on, and then they go on to do a part 2 that's a solo activity based on the list they generated. So I did change the design of my courses quite a bit, to match requirements in these courses that you have student to student and faculty to student engagement. So I do a lot of that. I do, for example, never in Learn, but now in Ultra, I create course introduction videos. That's the first thing they see, and it shows them the layout of the course, how you open a module, where you go for directions. And so I have a video that leads them through the entire thing that I never had in Learn. So I've been doing a lot more in Ultra and a lot more focus on faculty to student and student to student interaction than I did before in Learn.
That's awesome. And so for those of you in the audience who maybe aren't aware, what Sandra is referencing is the Kctcs essential standards, and these are some essential standards for quality online learning. This was determined by a work group from the 16 colleges across Kctcs system, and they were adopted, I believe, in 2019. It was prior to COVID is when that was adopted. So she's referencing those Kctcs essential standards, which are directly taken from the Blackboard Exemplary Course Program rubric. So that's referencing that student to student and student to faculty interaction. But I want to follow up with you, Sandra, on that, because you talked about, really changing the way you were having students interact with one another, and you chose VoiceThread for your tool to kind of facilitate that interaction between the students. Have you gotten any feedback from students about that interaction process, and do they like it? Do they not like it? Do they see it as valuable? Do you see it as valuable? Are you learning more from seeing those? Tell us about how that's working for you.
I think it's my favorite tool, and I think it's invaluable, and oddly enough, students love it. They love it. They often tell me at the end of the semester, I have them do a takeaway video, and the question there is, after the grades are posted, and the material's done, a year from now, what do you think will be the one thing that sticks out to you about this course, or what's the one thing in content that you'll remember? And invariably, students talk about either the videos, because they say it felt like a real class, they felt like they made friends, they got to know their classmates really well, which may not even have the opportunity to occur face to face sometimes. And then in the written projects, where they just converse back and forth through a discussion question, they felt like they had the opportunity to, have a conversation, direct conversation in that, even though it's done through discussion questions. Because in my discussion questions, they have to post 3 times and they have to respond to their classmates' comments and things. So they are interacting in a discussion that way. So students often tell me that when they read the syllabus, they thought, oh my gosh, videos. I can't do videos. There's no way. And then by the end of the semester, they're most often saying that's their favorite thing. A funny thing too is when they do their first videos, they're usually fully made up, looking very, very put together. And they tell me that they filmed it 16 times before they had a version that they would let stay on the screen for their classmates to see. Well, usually by about project 2, they're in their hoodies and comfortably sitting on their bed propped up against, their headboard, using their computer to film their videos. So it gets very comfortable, which is, I think that's wonderful. I've had people with their kids, a mother with her kids bouncing around on the bed as she was trying to do her video. I've had a little son who came into the video and contributed to it as his mother was doing it, which was really sweet. And you get a glimpse into students' lives and they get a glimpse into other students' lives because you can see where they're filming from. And sometimes it's mothers sitting on the edge of a bathtub with a marble, shower curtain behind them, because that's the only quiet place they had. They have little kids at home to quickly get their video done. So you're seeing, a glimpse into their lives. And I think it just makes it such a real environment. That you're meeting people that way. It's really been interesting. I really enjoy the whole thing, really.
Stephanie Edelman said in the comments, in case you can't see it, that her students always comment how much they love hearing the cat meow in the background. So I think what you're both touching on is just that idea that there's an actual human on the other side of the screen who's interacting with you, which is important to students. Thank you, Sandra. So Gloria, I'm going to ask you the same starter question. I know that you hadn't been teaching at Kctcs for a tremendously long time before you switched to Ultra, but in your move to Ultra, from which you said you started from scratch, did that move to Ultra lead to any kind of major revisions in the way you format your course, in the way you lay it out, present it, or was it basically the same?
Yes, there's a difference. So I actually have taught online as well with another university, but it's my first, but they kind of give us a canned course where we can just change the announcements, change how we reply to the discussion board. But it's my first time here to actually set up my own. And so when we did Ultra, so I have in-person classes and online classes. In my online classes, I arranged them by chronological order. So it's week 1, week 2, or chapter 1, chapter 2. But my in-person, because I don't use Blackboard that much, for in-person, it's really just for the grade book, for uploading handouts, maybe quizzes, if we can do our quizzes online. My order for in-person classes on Blackboard would be like, there's a folder for the handouts, there's a folder you open when you're having quizzes, there's a folder for whatever category, so it's in categories. So when I did Ultra and online classes where it's chronological, I decided that chronological is better because it gives us a more tangible feeling of moving forward or closing a chapter, like there is some more feeling of closure and moving on and getting to the finish line. So that is a main thing that I did. So all my in-person classes now are also arranged by chapter. So every chapter would have the slide handout, the study guide, the quizzes, and so on. and then another chapter. It's kind of repetitive, but I think students also like repetitiveness sometimes where they are not surprised. So, and they kind of know what to expect. So that is a major organization change that I did for in person.
I like that. I like that you applied some whatever you were doing in the online and found a better way to make that also fit with your face-to-face courses. I think that's a good connection, and I do think that students, one of the things that I tend to say is that when you walk into a physical classroom, you know where things are. You can see them, you can touch them, and in an online classroom, sometimes that's harder to know where things are. So you're right, giving students that repetition of here's where you're going to find the quiz, the lecture, the whatever for this week, that creates that rhythm that you know where things are and they don't have to guess and be looking and spend their time looking for information. They can go straight to it. So thank you for that. Hope, I'd like to know your thoughts on, and I know that you're still really working, it sounds like, and you spent your Christmas break working on making your transition to Ultra. I'd like to know if that changed any of the design theory or style in the move for you, if anything was major, and if so, what it was.
I think probably the main thing that was interesting to me is that of course, when you get a textbook, you go from chapter to chapter to chapter, and it's chronological, and I discovered that some of the chapters worked better if they were back to back, like perception and listening I do together, instead of having them separated by 2 or 3 other topics. So that for me, that has probably been one of the greatest advantages of switching to Ultra, is really truly, I think it's streamlining the topics, and the course is just it's easier to follow. So, and the chapters aren't in order, but it actually is easier to follow. So that's been my experience. And yes, I changed a lot of things. I truly, I moved things around and tied things together. Like there's a chapter or 2 on culture and how it affects them. It affects everything. So anyway, that's, and I keep referring back to that as well. So it's been, like I said, I think that's been the greatest advantage of me really having to look at what ties and what needs to be in a new module, and that has been a good thing for me. So anyway.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you, Hope, in a perfect world, and I've worked with tons of LMSs, and I will tell you, none of them are perfect. They all are nightmares in their own way, and good in other ways. In a perfect world, if you could get Blackboard to do one thing in Ultra to fix it in such a way that it would be perfect for you, what would that fix be?
I don't even know where to start on that. The grade book's difficult, and I'm a firm believer that attendance is really significant. So if a student doesn't show up or doesn't check in to Blackboard for 2 weeks, I know that, and that's a good thing. But I don't know. I hate having to go back and scroll back down to everything. It goes back to the original. So I think the scrolling thing is probably my biggest irritation right now, because it's just time consuming. When you click on something and then you go back, you have to re-find where you were, because it goes back to the original spot in your course, and you go back to course overview, and you have to scroll down and get to whichever module you're in. So to me, that would be my immediate fix. So because it doesn't seem like it's a lot of time, but when you start thinking about how many times you scroll down to module 3, wow, it's some time. So that for me would be one. And like I said, the grade book just is, It's daunting to me right now because I've not been in it enough to really. I'm in it, but I'm just skeptical, and I'm always afraid to click anything because I'm afraid it's going to make stuff disappear, or so that's my hang up, not Blackboard Ultras. So anyway.
Thank you. Sandra, what about you? If you could get Blackboard to fix one thing for you in Ultra, what would it be?
Well, I think Jason Videmski in the previous session said something about the drag and drop feature. It is so frustrating. I think when I was first learning that about put me into tears because I just couldn't get it to place where I wanted. And I'm thinking, is it my age? What is the problem here? But it's apparently not, since younger faculty have the same problem. It's really hard to grab and then drop something exactly where you want it. They need to tweak that for sure and make it a lot better. And then the dates thing, I think the fact that the way it's set up, you automatically put in the date and then the time. But if they want it to be driven by time, they should switch that so that you put in the time first and the date, because it's so easy to miss if it changes the date on you. So that can be a bit frustrating. As far as the grade book, so, I've been in it. This is, like I said, my third semester. I really like the layout of the grade book. I think it's very easy to move things around so it matches exactly the layout of your course. And one thing I found in the grade book, and Judy Howe showed me how to do this, is I love, I can set up 1/4, midterm, and 3/4 grade notifications, letter grades, that it takes literally a minute or two to set up. And I can then direct my students through the semester. Like if they miss an assignment, I can start posting announcements that say, hey, watch your 1/4 grade. So that way they can see every time they miss an assignment and end up getting a 0, how it's impacting their 1/4 grade. There's this constant awareness of where they are in the course. So like I said, I've set them up with 1/4, midterm, and 3/4 grades. There's never a point from assignment number 1 that they can't see their grade building and see the impact when they lose a few points or skip an activity. So I think that really helps them to be aware of, it's not 16 weeks or 12 weeks out. Everything I do with every assignment has an impact, and they can see that. So that's one thing about the grade book that I really love, where it sets up, you can set up letter grades. And once you set it up, like I said, it takes a matter of minutes. You don't have to do anything with it because it automatically at that point assigns a letter grade once you hit, that point in the semester. So I find that really, really helpful.
Thank you. And so, Gloria, I'm not going to leave you out. What is one thing, if you could get a magic wish and have Blackboard fix it for Ultra, what would you ask them to fix for you and why?
Can they grade everything? just grade everything, including essays, discussion boards. No, I'm kidding. Also, drag and drop. I thought I was the only one, and I thought that maybe there was another way. So I wasn't even planning to bring it up because maybe I'm the only one having difficulty with that. So I think it shouldn't be hard. I feel like for Blackboard to give an option whether you click once, then it will go up once, or click 2 times, it will go up 2 times, rather than having to drag and drop. And sometimes it's scary when you thought you dropped something and then you can't find it anymore. You thought you lost it, but it actually went into a module or something. Also, just regarding what Hope said about getting frustrated with having to scroll down, the one thing, I don't know if this is a good solution or not, but I've done it one time because I got frustrated as well. When I was building up my course to where I was just adding modules instead of the whole class being set up at the very start of the semester. So it is kind of irritating, I know, to go down. So what I did was I actually just arranged my chapters so that the current chapter is the one that's on top. And it kind of makes it so that my students and I don't have to scroll down if we're done with it. So I think that can be one solution that you can consider if you are getting frustrated with having to scroll down to get to the newest or the current lessons.
Thank you, Gloria.
Awesome. So thank you for that. I will say on the drag and drop, Sherry Basil shared a tip yesterday, and I'm going to have to go back when those videos are posted and remind myself of what she exactly was doing. But she had, at least for some portions of the course, she said it didn't work in the grade book area. Well, I don't want to tell this incorrectly, but she had a like a workaround that I'd never heard anyone have. So I want to go back and remind myself of what that is and possibly capture that so we can share it more widely than just in that video that she shared yesterday, because I thought it was pretty interesting and it at least gave a solution for a little bit of that. But I agree. I have found that if you zoom way out so everything's super tiny on the screen, that does tend to make the drag and drop a little easier. But I also agree it's not as easy as it should be. It should be much simpler than that. Okay, so Sharon Davis shared in the comments, for an item that you want to move, you can click on the visible to student, then hit tab, and then hit enter. And this will now allow you to move the item with your arrow keys. Awesome. Oh, and Sherry Basil just confirmed that that was the fix. So we're going to have to record that so we can make that more widely available. But I'd never heard that before. So thank you, Sherry, for sharing that. Thank you, Sharon, for confirming it. I have one question remaining, and then, you know, folks, if you want more questions answered from this crew, you just need to put them in the chat. The last question for me is, what one piece of advice would you give faculty about moving to Ultra? So Hope, I'm going to start with you on this one.
I had to click on my microphone again. Anyway, give yourself enough time is my, that's, and like I said, use Ultra. If you stay out of it, it's just, I mean, if you stay out of it for too long or you don't use something for so long, you forget how to do it. And that is, well, maybe that's my age speaking, but anyway, you have to keep using it and using it and using it until you're comfortable. And that's my recommendation, is just allow yourself enough time. I was amazed at the number of people, and I was as guilty as the next person. I mean, I was right up to the 11th hour getting my courses so they were good enough to put on, and I had all the requirements. But anyway, I kept thinking about people who didn't start until we came back in January, and I thought, how did they do that? So give yourself enough time and work ahead of, and I think Sandra probably has the secret, is just a little bit at a time. And like you said, as they're working on module 1, I'm working on module 2. So you have to allow yourself the time you need to do what you have to do to make your course a good course. Maybe not stellar, but at least good. So that's my recommendation.
Your mic isn't on, Leah.
Sorry, thank you. So Sandra, I was actually going to call on you next. What's one piece of advice that you would give to faculty about the move to Ultra?
It would be, first of all, don't do what I did, which was waste time lamenting that, why do we have to change? What's the purpose? What was wrong with Learn? It was perfectly fine. That's a waste of time. Move forward. The other thing is just recognize that learning something new is a learning process, and you have to be patient with yourself and patient with what you're trying to learn. So don't let the fear overwhelm you. You just, as Hope said, you've got to just get in there and get started. Try and allow yourself enough time to practice with things. Have that touchstone person at your campus that you can contact when you do have questions or you just reach your frustration level, because you will, because you're learning something new. I kind of equate it to when I learned how to drive as a kid many decades ago. You know, I was terrorized because I thought, how can I take my hand off the wheel to change the radio station, or how can I get my feet and my hands to work together? How does all this work together? How is this possible? I'll never be able to drive, until I told myself, Sandra, you know idiots who have driver's licenses. And it was that realization. It's like, okay, that's true. I need to recognize that. So I'm not suggesting that anyone out there try and identify any colleagues in that manner, but everyone is learning it. And no matter our ages, young and old, we are conquering this. So just have confidence that you will get the hang of it. It just takes time and patience, and then a good person to reach out to who can guide you through the process. I like to learn, as I said, little by little. So I would reach out whenever I had a question. She would teach me how to do it, and I would learn it well. I can't learn the whole thing at once. So figure out your learning style and apply yourself like a student, because you can get through, you can master it. You just have to have patience with yourself.
Thank you, Sandra. I appreciate that. And Gloria, I'm going to ask you to finalize this session, what is one piece of advice you would give to faculty as they move to Ultra?
So my advice would be to have a plan. Like maybe you can also, maybe if you are scared to just go into Blackboard to do it, maybe lay out an outline in Word, like what things do you want in it, like how are you going to arrange your modules. Is it going to be bi-weekly or by chapter? So I would say have a good plan before going in, and then you can, as I said earlier, just focus on one class and make it so that you can work with a very good skeleton that you can copy to other classes. I think that would be my one piece of advice to those who are just going to start out.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone on this panel, Dr. Pimenta, Professor Saad, Professor Benin. I thank you so much for sharing your experience as you moved from Blackboard Learn Original to Blackboard Ultra. I think this has been a very useful session for the people listening, and hopefully some folks will take away some advice, or at least some comfort in knowing that it can be done. It has been fully done at 2 of our schools already, Big Sandy being one of those, and so this is possible. It may not feel great all the time, but it is possible. I also want to point out that there's been a lot of talk about Judy, how great she is, by all 3 panelists for helping them. Each college has what we call an Ultra champion. Judy is one of the Ultra champions at Big Sandy, but every college has an Ultra champion. If you don't know who your go-to person is at your college, you can find that information on the Kctcs Online Info Center. So if you search Kctcs Online from the SharePoint in My Path, you can find our SharePoint site. You go there is Blackboard Ultra Help right there, but that also has your list of Ultra champions. So you can connect with whoever the person is at your college, and some colleges have several, and ask them to help you with some of the things that you have concerns about related to Ultra, because I think, as we've heard from all 3 of these people today, it's really important when you have a stumbling block to have a resource to find help and get assistance. And for all 3 of these ladies, that has been Judy Howell, and that person can be your Ultra champion at your college as well. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you all so much for presenting and giving us your time. I sincerely appreciate it. We're going to end this session now, and we will be joining back at 1 o'clock. Chris Young will be bringing us a session on how to transfer, if you do want to transfer your content from Learn into Ultra. He's going to show you how to do that and some considerations you might want to make as you make that transition. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.